officially casually.
Welcome to Officially Casually.
Episode 5.
Episode 5, right? Episode 5.
Episode
And I think when we do it like this, then it's fine. Like just like like an intro and outro, and we're good to go.
Yeah, it's been a month since we've been recording. So happy
It's been a month?
Monthiversary. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Monthiversary.
Monthiversary. Yeah.
Episode 5, man. Still sad about episode 1 and 2, but they're gonna be legends. Remember forever.
Remember
They're going
forever
down in history
until we forget.
Yeah, until we forget. It's gonna be fun when somebody scrolls down, like let's episode 100, and then I really want to listen to episode 1 and 2, and they start with episode 3, and they're like, what?
That we can put like, actually, if people hear this episode, they will know the secret. But we can make like a service. If you want episode 1 and 2, you have to write us our official letter and send it to us at our headquarters, and then we will send it to you. But if somebody actually does that, then we're gonna have to figure something out.
I mean, we send them with like a USB stick, like
We just go through like a lot of trouble of like burning the headquarters and all that, and then being like, oh, we lost it.
Instead of just
Admitting.
No, but like it would be also like easier just sit down and record 2 hours. And and be like, yeah, this is the episodes. We just made them now, but like, yeah, they're from 2019.
we just send them a membership of $3 Shave Club or $1 Shave Club, and that's it. We just figure something out.
Are you guys using subscriptions?
I just actually. No,
Spotify.
I'm not using for that. Spotify is the only one.
Yeah.
And
And
actually,
Netflix.
I must have more subscriptions, I feel. No, I don't, I think. I had Audible, but I always use it only for 1 month. So.
Oh, I have Audible too, so 3. That makes me.
Yeah, I had Audible too, but I do the thing where when you cancel a subscription, they give you like, hey, you can have 3 months for like half the price. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I cancel after the 3 months.
Yeah.
And then at one point I subscribe again because there's like a book I really want to have and I can't find it on torrent. So it's like, or on YouTube. Then
I kind of do the same, but it's like I just don't listen to as much as I think I will for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's wrong with me and audiobooks.
Man, it's okay, man. It's just like it's sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And man, Audible fucked me up last time when I was in China, cause I have a German account, and I went to German Audible and made a subscription. But then there was a book I wanted to have. I was in English, and I didn't notice. I went to the English store, and then I made like a second subscription, and then I was like paying for 2 different Audibles, and I didn't know. I didn't notice. I didn't notice, man. And I thought like I canceled the subscription in German. But it was like, at one point I checked the bank account and I was like, what's this 9 euros or like 10 euros, like every month, and then I like, fuck, that's like Audible and then like shit, and like 6, you can only accumulate like 6 points.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah, and then everything else
Credit.
gets like, deleted. And I'm like, fuck you guys.
Damn.
And I downloaded 6 books and deleted the subscription.
I thought because I haven't actually gotten a book in a while, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be loaded with credits. But if they stop at 6, I need to keep an eye
Maybe
on
they
that.
changed it, but like 2 years ago it was at 6 points.
Damn, that's
Because I paid like over 100 something, I got only 6 out of it, and it's like, yeah, everything gets lost. You can check it out actually, man.
Yeah.
Really-
Yeah, but okay, I only have 3 right now, so I still have.
So it doesn't matter.
I'm still good.
Yeah, still good. Download some shit, man. Fuck. Which book are you currently on? Are you guys still reading?
I've been listening to Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. It's like a networking book, one of the most recommended ones I found, and really I'm listening to it, right? And it's a big ass book, I don't know. I really can't get through it. Like I don't know what's going on exactly. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys are listening to as well.
Principles from Ray Dalio, but it's like it's a huge fucking book, man. It's a huge
Yeah.
fucking book, and it's like, yeah, I'm now. I didn't listen to it for a while, and yesterday I went back to it, and it was like 8 hours in, and it's like still 7 hours to go, and I'm listening at like 1.5 speed, 1.6.
Mm.
I'm like, holy shit, man, and I forgot what was the other half, so I have to go back and yeah, I want to go get it through. It's a really good book, it's really good, but it's like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Uh, Actually, I was reading that one because I have that in text, and then I was listening to the other one. Actually, exactly those two books. So I'm
Yeah,
surprised
interesting.
we're doing principles too. Yeah.
Yeah, principles, man. It's important to have principles in lives, man. And here's some good ones. Some good principles.
And Raf?
So the last one I was listening to, and I stopped a few weeks ago, was Far Journeys. And Far Journeys is the second book in a trilogy of books by Robert Monroe, and all three of them are essentially like a book version of his notes during his experience with out of body travel, essentially.
Mm.
So the first book, he's kind of like explaining how he thinks he's going crazy, or he thought he was going crazy, so he started studying the phenomena, and then and he starts going into detail on some of the stories, and some of them are pretty damn fucking crazy. And then the second book, it's it's like you're watching this journey of like uh, space explorers or something, and at the start they're like still on Earth trying to figure like this shit out, and then later in the story, like with the later books, I feel like it just gets crazier and crazier. Because on the second book, and the part that I stopped at, and I had already like listened through all three of them, and he's talking about how he essentially started an institute to study it with other people that became
Ah.
volunteers, and he had a team of explorers that were people who were essentially helping him mapping the the out of body world, and there's all kinds of like crazy experiences that these people are having, but some of the experiences are also like they're having jointly, and all these things, and by the third book um he's having experiences where he's like, there's one in particular in the last book where he finds a version of himself in the future, and they are showing him a future in which humanity succeeded, like humanity figured out their shit, and the world is like a paradise. And they have all kinds of technology that we don't even have on the radar right now, or at least it's not technology that we are thinking about right now, and all kinds of things. And it's I feel like it's the thing that makes it crazy is that it's not fiction. That things like that happen to people, but we just don't know. We that's not stuff that we would normally hear about, or that we
Um,
would hear about and we would be like, oh, you like okay with it. Generally,
um,
yeah.
I have a question. Is it the one that you told me with the lifeline?
Yeah. His institute is the one that does
That
Lifeline.
So that was the one that was the thing that we talked about before you left Kunishan, right? Where we also
Yeah.
talked about like, yeah. Okay. There was yeah. Remember when we had this discussion of like maybe we were like higher beings and decided to come, like decided to make this
Yeah.
way, like this, like putting each other like maybe traps in our ways and like like hey, or let's say okay when we get to Earth, let's meet up in 20 years at this point and whatever,
Yeah.
like yeah,
So,
that
so
was
for
a
those
fun discussion.
for those listening, to a little bit of
Yeah.
context, that's kind of going off the idea um, that we essentially choose this life, that we are actually from some other plane of reality, and before we come to Earth or we become human, we get to plan things. Maybe not everything, but certain uh, maybe like key points or key storylines in our lives. We kind of plan it out, but at the same time, there's also the belief that people come in groups and they say, hey, it's gonna be really fun if we like grow up being brothers, or if we happen to like meet at some point in our lives, but we're like long friends that we've been sharing lives together. So kind of like the what we were talking about at the school was that it'd be really funny we were if we had planned that we would meet each other like in China doing practicing martial
Mm-hmm.
arts, and
Yeah.
especially considering the fact that so many of the people that was like our close group there, right before we left, were people that arrived like days apart from each other and left days apart from each other in a school that's been open like what, like 15 something years.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
during like any time that we could have gone there, we went at the exact pretty much 3 months that we were all there. That
yeah.
it would have been. And then the other part of the joke was that Michael was saying that he wanted to come before, but then he kept getting distracted by women. So we were
Yeah.
joking that we had already like also planned that with the women, that they would distract them and try to like not have him not arrive at our gathering.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Like so, like yeah. I love that fact. So basically, because we know like Michael's weakness is women, so we just like like let's throw their song in and here in this path a little bit, and let's see like if it's gonna actually make it. you know? And I think for us others, it's the same thing, right? All of us have like some weaknesses. We're like, oh, we want to get to this point, and then like some distractions, and now like, are we going after distraction? Are we allowing the distraction to distract us, or are we like continuing to doing the thing, right? And
Yeah.
I love playing with the idea that a good friend is actually, like what? I want to meet this guy, but let's see if he can actually make it.
Yeah, for sure. And even that like the fact that we were all like at the martial arts school, the same thing, is essentially with Edward. The fact that we were all also in Yantai, out of all the
Yeah.
places in China that we could have been. It's also like pretty outstanding, and it definitely feels like it's almost like planned to like another level.
Right, right. Like yeah, like me and Edward, like I told you that we haven't met yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just fun fact that you're like 2 bus stops away from me.
Yep. We're right there. Of all
Right next
places,
to you,
man.
man. Like right next. Like Yenta is like a city of 6.5 million people, and it's like fucking huge. And then like we're just basically neighbors.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
really.
Uh,
You know,
and just yeah.
I was thinking, listening to this talk about like maybe we are not, but we are humans, right? But like be maybe behind us is like a force that is like an intelligent being that decides when to meet and stuff like that, and it kind of plans out like how to live this experience to maybe have the experience, right? And
Mm-hmm.
makes me think that uh, like it's different ways of believing, right? If you believe something like that, I can see myself being much more relaxed about everything else, because nobody has the answers, right? At the moment, no belief system has the answer that fits everyone, because I feel like if you have the truth and it's the truth, then people will just understand it. But
Mm.
that's my belief. That's my truth. Like if you have the truth, then you don't have to explain it to anybody. It's something that is inherently understandable by everybody. But I don't think that exists, right? Religion tells you one thing, and then there's hundreds of religions.
They try.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that if you would tell right, like maybe a certain person that life is just this, we already kind of predetermined, so you can relax a little bit. and there are maybe somebody who are like super goal driven, and whose belief of success or a good life is like creating a legacy, like a lot of people. You know, they have subscribed themselves to that reality in a way. It's what I'm thinking. And I kind of lost what I was saying during the whole thing, but anyways, I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it because I had a point, but then the conversation kept going.
So two things I want to say. Go ahead, Darko, because
I just want to say quickly, you know, so for the people who are listening, when me, Rafa, and Michael, so the guy with the women, you know, when we had this conversation, it was in December, right? It was before you two left. And when we sat down and we talked about this, maybe like we are friends from a different plane, and we manufactured this whole, architected this whole thing, you know, that we actually gonna meet up in like, you know, this and this place and in this and this time. And that was also like the moment where we sat down and we after the discussion we said, you know what, this would be like really fucking nice to have like, you know, a podcast and just talk about stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
That was the moment, and since then I had it in my head, and I was like, you know, like yeah, we should do something like that, and it's actually fucking amazing, that because I want to do something like this like a long time already, but like now it feels right. Now it just feels right to do it. So like everything, and then again with the thing is it like it really feels like now it's meant to be. You know, and in the past I was like trying to force it more, and it just didn't work. And then I go like from the last time we talked about don't try, just like go with the flow. Now that we're not really trying to do something, we're actually doing something. So it's kind of like, you know, funny that like the podcast stuff and everything. Yeah, I just want to throw that in for like some people who are listening, maybe that sometimes things just happen and they just feel right, and just go for it.
Yeah, and as opposed to like spending so much time trying to get everything ready, because you can't get everything ready. You can't get to perfect. Perfect is always on the way, but never arriving. So why wait for it? But like a couple of things that I wanted to mention, like on the kind of like the previous topic, like I feel like the more I think about it, the more I feel like convinced that there isn't like one truth, that everyone just needs to make their truth, you know, that everyone, if everyone is watching a movie in the theater, and you know, and as soon as they walked out, you interviewed them on what they just experienced, everyone would have a different answer, because for everyone, even though maybe the same events are happening in the world, the way in which they're inputting them in, or the way in the things that they're paying attention to, I think more importantly, are so vastly different that who could say that one thing is really like the truth and the fundamental truth, when everyone's gonna like see it completely different, and you know, and that truth might not work for everyone. So I feel like this idea that maybe we plan things, definitely, at least for me, like makes certain things much more interesting, or at the very least comical. And there's a story that I think I told the both of you, when I was in Thailand. We were at a restaurant, and it was pretty late. The next day we needed to get up really early to head out somewhere, and when we were gonna pay for the bill at the restaurant, I was kind of annoyed. I there's something I'll get into, like maybe in one of the later podcasts, that really annoys me about paying in restaurants. So I essentially like left my money on the table and just walked out. And outside of the restaurant, there was like this almost like kind of like street party going. It wasn't very full, but when I looked into like the people there, there was this this girl, and it wasn't like I saw like the most like beautiful women in the woman in the world, but it was like I was wearing armor, and she had like a huge fucking magnet, and I just like could not like understand what was going on. You know, I just felt like this, almost like this gravity going on, and I was like, holy shit, like what's going on? So then I was like, yo, because I have this personal rule where I essentially don't I generally don't initiate. If I feel like if someone needs me in their life, or I need someone in their life, I'm like, hey, universe, just make sure you bring them to me, because I'm not gonna like try to initiate. So by all intents and purposes, we were never gonna like talk, because in order to get to where she was, we would have to leave the. So when you leave the restaurant, you need to cross this bridge, and you need to cross the bridge in order to get to the hotel that we needed to get to, and we were late, so we definitely needed to get out there. But instead, the group I was with, they decided to check out the thing that was going on. So we actually didn't go across the street. And when that happened, when they made that decision, I was like, holy shit, the universe is like, yo, do something. And so a while later, I kind of just gave her kind of like a note, and I was like, hey, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to give you my info. And I think I wrote my email and my phone number. I don't remember which. I think I did my phone number, because later I was like, shit, I think I did it wrong. I think I put the numbering wrong. But anyway, when I was thinking about it, and I was like, shit, I gave this information to this lady, and is she gonna like reach out? Is she not gonna reach out? Is this gonna like awkward? And then I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be funny if we had planned that? If we would have said, hey, I'm gonna be at this place in Thailand. Let's see if we just bump into each other. Let's see if you actually like initiate and talk to me. Let's see how this conversation goes. And then, when we actually meet again, she's gonna be like, a fucking letter? Are you fucking serious? We planned this whole thing to like try to meet in this random place, and you gave me this like poorly written letter with the phone number wrong. Are you serious?
Fuck, that would be like fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah.
That was fucking hilarious. It's like, I'm fucking kidding you.
What are the chances of all this happening like anywhere in the world, and this is what you like hand over to me, and then you just walk away? Get the fuck out of here.
It up.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, man. Man, that would be like really ridiculously funny, man. Sometimes there are encounters where you're like, it's just like in initiation stuff and like blah blah. It's like, yeah, man. I don't know. Like sometimes there are situations where I'm like, hey, this is kind of like, do you know situations where like you should have initiated something and you feel bad afterwards that you didn't do?
Yeah.
Yeah, like man, like I had this one moment. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. So a couple of years ago, I walked outside the apartment from my parents, and I had like a massage table with me. And because I'm doing little massages.
What the hell? Wait, where is this going?
Yeah, okay. Okay, listen. I was raining outside like crazy. And I walked to the car and I'm throwing the massage table. And I'm like, did I actually, close the doors properly? Shut down the doors. And I was like, let me walk back. Then I walked back to the apartment. Okay, the doors are closed. And I walk outside again, and I see this beautiful woman without the umbrella, like completely fucking wet. And she looks at me, and look at her. I'm like, come over here, what they were doing there, like super rainy. And she was like completely lost. She's like, I just moved, a couple of days ago here, and I have to go to the dentist, and I'm totally lost, like, hey, like, not a problem, like, what's the name of the dentist? And she tells me the name. I wanted to look it up in Google. I'm like, wait a second, that's my dentist, and they're like, I know where he is, it's like around the corner, you just missed the street. And she's like, okay, cool, we have to walk, like, no, like, sit in my car, I'm gonna drive, I have to go anyways, to that direction. And sits in my car, like, we talked for a couple of minutes, and then I let her out to the dentist. She gave me a hug, and then she walked in, and I drove to my friend. And on the way, I was like, Narco, why didn't you like, she was beautiful and everything, why didn't you ask her for a number, like something, right? I was like, what if that would be like the woman, like, oh, like, and I walk, okay. Then I walk to my friend, I grabbed the massage table, I walk upstairs, elevator, I set up the table, and I had this feeling of regret coming more and more and more. And then I was like, fuck this, I have to go back. And I was like putting on the shoes, and she's like, where are you going? I'm like, to the dentist. And I sat in the car, I drove to the dentist, I just walked like to the dentist, and the woman at the reception, she was like, yeah, blah blah, like, no, wait, I'm gonna come to you in a second. Then I just walked past her through, I went to the waiting room, I was like, she's not there. I was like, fuck. I went back to reception, like, hey, did you see like a woman with black hair? She's like, yeah, she just left, you know. I'm like, shit, you know. Then I was like, where did she go? And like, she must go to the train station, it's like very close, she's not living here. So I sat in my car and I drove to the train station, and then I saw her walking, and she was like going to the ticket, to the vending machine to get the ticket. And I parked my car and I walked towards her like, hey, that's how we meet again. And she was like, hey, you again. And then I was like, hey, yeah, you know what? I actually want to get to know you. And I was really close to her. And then she looks at me like with a really big smile. And then she's like, but I'm married. I'm like, what? What? Then I just gave her a hug. I started laughing. I was like, okay, thank you. Wish you the best life. And just left. I never saw her again. And I was like, afterwards, like, man, here's the funny thing. I had so much regret that I didn't do it. But after doing it, I was like, oh, like, anyways, it's not the right one because she's married, right? But it relaxed me so much afterwards that I actually tried.
It gave it closure.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing, it was like the perfect setup. And then like me like not doing anything, right? We were like the perfect thing. And then that was like what fucked me up. So yeah, sometimes, man, you have to fucking initiate, you have to do something. You know, and even if it's running into nothingness, and like for me, like look the fucking effort. If I would have asked her immediately in the car, like, you know, like then she could have told me she's married, you know, then the whole thing, or I could have actually looked at her hand because she showed me the ring afterwards. You know, but like, you know, I didn't think that far. And so like, yeah, sometimes you have to go for it, man, because the one thing I've learned, man, regret is fucking fucks you more up than the initial hurt of rejection. At least you tried.
You know, in Men in Black 3, I think it is, there's that one line that I've never forgotten. I don't remember almost anything about that movie, but I think there's like one line that is, you know, the worst force in the universe is not, the worst feeling in the universe is not hate, or it's not loneliness, it's regret, you know. It's something like that. It's like the worst thing, like it's regret. And
Fuck, man.
And you know, like I relate so much to this because I always, like, yeah, I'm from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico we party since we're like teenagers, like early teens, and we're out and we're about and doing everything. But I was always inadequate, like with girls growing up, and I'm still am, you know, I'm still carrying a lot of that still. But I would go out a lot, and I would sometimes dance, sometimes not dance with random people. Mostly dance with myself, which I still find it fun, most fun. But like many times at night, I would try to approach or consider approaching someone, not doing it, and then kicking myself for the rest of the night. Like many nights this happened, many nights. And you know, like I've gone through many like books about self-confidence, pick up stuff like this to try and like break this spell. And what I found is that something that I see, like actually go out there looking for rejections, you know, because rejections will teach you that it's really not a problem, you know, that it's really not a problem. Every time you get rejected, your subconscious or whatever realize that you didn't die after getting said no for anything, and then eventually it will become like something of the past. But you know, like there's like layers to this shit, because now that I'm a little bit more confident in that sense, I had this other side, which I think I've mentioned before, that I just feel like I need to do it all the time, and it's like annoying, you know. Like I'm wondering, like, is it just like and trying to make up for something or whatever it is. But now I feel like I see a pretty girl, and then I feel like the voice in the back of my head, okay, then go like fucking get her contact or something. And I'm like, for what? Like come on, what am I gonna do with that besides like spending time getting to know someone, I guess, if it works, or just getting a no. And then the idea of getting the no is more appealing to me now, because that means at least I tried and then it didn't work, but I also don't have to follow up with anything, you know? Like I get that maybe dopamine fix or that like adrenaline rush of approaching someone, but then I don't have to feel like I have to follow it up, because I actually, the other day I was in a bar and I got a contact, and the girl is like really pretty and stuff, but like I have so much work and stuff that I'm like, but I feel guilty because the girl is pretty as hell, but I also don't want to do anything right now with that. So I don't know. It's like we have to check ourselves a little bit. I think that or at least from my point of view, for me, I have to check myself that I'm not acting in some like preconceived notions of how I'm supposed to act. Like I'm a man, I have to approach, I have to meet girls because I can, you know, and be like, you know, it's alright if I don't do this right now. It don't mean anything. It don't mean anything. Like I want it to be more organic, you know, not like I'm pushing myself to
natural.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man,
And
I feel the same way.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel as well, because I feel like I don't like having to follow up with people, as you're saying. I have very few like text chats that I keep up on my phone, and I'm like constantly on them, and I don't even like talk on the phone. Like I feel like I can only take people in short bursts, and if I do too much, like I just get like overwhelmed. But then again, you know, and that's kind of like where this thing to the universe came, that I was like, hey, you know, assume that I'm not gonna initiate and just bring people over. It's in part like a way for me to relax and avoid the regret, because, you know, in the same, not to the same degree, but in the same way that I felt that pull towards that one lady, I do get like pulled towards people all the time. Like there's people that I just see and I'm like, shit, you know, we've been friends or something, you know. I just see people and I'm like, damn, you know, something about you is just like pulling. But it just happens so often that I'm like, hey, you know, I don't know, no, you know, if this is the life in which we're friends again, then bring it. But then if not, you know, it's fine. Everyone can go their ways, you know.
Rafa, I just had this thought, like, just imagine, you know, like both of you die, and then, like, you know, like in the other plane you talk about, and she's like, man, Rafa, look, we planned this before. We came to planet Earth. And
this is the 5th time.
Right, so like, please, the next time, make sure to write the right number.
It's all I'm asking.
Yeah, fuck, man. Like, don't be fucking stupid, man. It's only 7 numbers, man. How can I get you?
Yeah.
You're like a higher being, you know, and you can't get that right, you know.
the whole point of you doing that, you know, traveling through the world, was for that moment. And you fucked it up with a number that you've had your whole life. How could you mess that up? You know, we fucked that up last time and we tried to fix it, and still.
Fuck. That was fucking ridiculous, man. That was ridiculous. Oh, man.
And I wonder, you know, now that we're kind of like joking about it again, I wonder if for your story, it would go something similar to that, where you would both be joking about how, you know, she was all out in the rain and all that, and you drove her, and then you just fucking drove away, and then about
came
like
back.
and then how you went over to your friend, left your massage table, and then drove back, walked around the dentist, you know, and something, you know, someone could have been creeped out by that, but you were like, yo, where's the girl at? Where the girl at?
Gotta meet
And
this
then you
girl.
just happen to bump into her essentially at the train station, and she had a ring. But then it would have been funny if she was just like kidding about it or something like that, or if the marriage maybe didn't work out or something like that, and that was you guys knew that would happen, but you were like, hey, let's see if we still start hanging out or anything.
Or maybe it took you too long to meet her, and she got married. If we
Who
look
knows,
at
man?
it from that perspective, you find me before I get married, then maybe we have a chance, maybe in another life.
Yeah.
That's also
But
interesting. Or maybe you'll meet her again.
it's all about choices, right? It's all about choices, man. It's all about choices, man. And you never know. Like, it's interesting, especially with girls. Sometimes, like, do you guys know the moment where they exactly know, okay, if I make this choice now, I have like no two options. Either I do A or I do B, and I know exactly this is gonna be a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna quick story. Couple years ago, I was in the last days, so I had to go to an what's an internat?
The
Like
internet.
The
no,
internet? Yes, I do. I've heard about it.
not internet, internat, like a broad school.
Okay.
Where you get sent and you go to school. And you
Oh,
stay
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's like
Boarding
a
school?
boarding school. Yeah.
Yeah,
Boarding.
exactly. And I had to do that, back in Austria, and because for my apprenticeship, there was only one school in whole Austria who was teaching the thing that I needed to learn, and I was like 460 k's away from my hometown. So each year I had to go like 10 weeks there and study there. And in my last term, so like I did it for 4 years. In my last term, the couple of days before I left the school, I met a girl, and super nice, etc. But we didn't exchange contacts. And then 2 days before I left, or like the night before, I went outside with my friends drinking, and I went to this bar, and it was near to our school, and I saw her inside. I grabbed the beer and I saw her inside. So it's like, hey, you again, like, hey, you again, blah blah. And I talked a little bit, and I walked outside, and then my friends said we finished the beer, and all of my friends tossed the beer bottle into the garbage can, and started walking back to the school. And I finished the beer, and I was looking at the beer bottle, and I was like, okay, if I throw the bottle now away and I walk to the school, nothing is gonna happen. If I bring the bottle back to the bar, just like, kind of like, hey, here's the bottle, blah blah, everything can happen. And there was this moment, where I had to decide what I'm gonna do, walk away or walk back. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna walk back, let's see what's gonna happen. I walked back, started talking with her. We went outside, started kissing, like it's like super fast type of shit, right? And then at one point, we walked back to the school, and I was like, hey, it was really nice seeing you, blah blah. And then I parted from her, and she's like, hey, is this not the moment where we should exchange numbers? I'm like, I'm like, that's a good idea, Then we exchanged numbers, and then the next day I left, and I didn't see her for 2 years. So I finished school, I went to military, blah blah. And then she contacted me like, hey, I'm now in a different country, like she's like still in Austria but a different state, and it's also like 420 450 k's away, just like the opposite. And she's like, do you want to come by? I'm like, yeah, sure, so I went by, we started the thing, and then we had a long distance relationship for a year, which was like really crazy. And for me, it's like, looking back, it was like the moment with the beer bottle. If I would have thrown it away and walked away, nothing would happen. But like, because I decided to walk back. My friends like, what the fuck, throw the beer away? Like, no, I have to do this. And I walked away, and like, and it started the thing, and it took a while to get to the point where I was then. And this whole relationship changed me a lot, because a long distance relationship is fucking crazy. We saw each other only every 3 weeks, something like that. So it was kind of like a crazy, interesting experience with her. It was a fucking interesting experience, and yeah. Like, sometimes the moments, they really know, if I walk away now, nothing's gonna happen, but if I walk back, everything can happen. And yeah, like, there are moments, man. There are moments where you really can clearly see, this is gonna change my life, this decision.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of like the funny thing about all of this, that is that we can't really see what's like ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like to some degree, like you can't really do anything wrong, because who knows, maybe if you would have just left with your friends, you guys would have started like fucking around or doing something out there, and then you would have bumped into her, and then it would have been like all your friends like maybe like encouraging you, or like something like the story would have maybe like ended up the same, but would have unfolded initially like different. And I feel like that's like the interesting thing, that we definitely do have those moments in which we're like, shit, like this is the thing that definitely seems more interesting to do right now. But even if you don't get to do it, you the the canvas is still open for many other like really interesting things to happen, or many
Right.
other like really interesting people to like meet along the way. So who knows how, like, who knows if we would have even like met, in China, because a lot of things would have maybe been different in your life. um or
I
maybe it was us.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, we need you to help Darko get to China by this time. So we like planned it with her before we even came here. Similar to how we did with Michael, but we did the opposite
You're
with you.
right. It's like all connected. But I
Yeah.
just remembered something. Um, so like after going back, starting something for exchanging numbers. 2-3 months later, I totally forgot about. I had to go back and do the exam. And I went back and did the exam like after a month or something. And then I failed because I like super stupid. I had to build something in the exam. You have like a practical, a theoretical, and a machine part. And by construction part, where I had to build something with my own hands. Like, look, I'm the only one who failed. You know why?
Because you built it
Because
with your feet.
no, man, because you get a plan, a construction plan. I was I was I was holding it the wrong side. So I was holding it I was holding it upside down, and I made like the whole, like, I changed like all the lengths and the broads, like everything, so the whole thing just looked different than it should have looked. And like and I just looked once at it and I was like, okay, I've memorized it. I just like 1.5 hours put in the work and finished it. And I'm like, Darko, you haven't looked at your plan for a while, talking to myself and look at the plan. I'm like, man,
Oh,
this is like the opposite of what you should have done. and then like the guy collects all the stuff, like from all the people, and then he comes to me and he looks at the thing I built. My teacher was like, he looks at me, he's like, oh well, that doesn't look like on the plan. I'm like, well, I guess I have to come back. And he's like, well, I guess you have.
I think
But here's the thing,
you done
the next
fucked
time,
up.
yeah, I just fucked up. But the next time I had to come alone. I had to go completely. This was like with partially of my class doing the exam, because we're all the same term, right? And this time, the next time, I had to go alone there, and so like I traveled, from half of Austria, go there, and at that time, man, it was super weird. I had this little hostel thing where I slept for like 2 days. Then I had to but they allow you only to stay for 2 days, and I was running out of money, so I slept at the school, and this whole thing was going over a couple of days, like 5 days there. And then I was like, fuck, I have a little bit of money left. I bought a ticket back. Okay, cool. Then I had a little bit of money left. And me, idiot, you know what I did? I bought like wheat for last money instead of like having the money for like housing. And so I had like basically I had no roof over my head, but I had something to smoke. And I was like, well, fuck, that was stupid. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna contact the girl. And I contacted the girl, and then she took me in. And we just like smoked weed the whole time, and I was like, I had a really great fucking time. And yeah, so like me actually not throwing away the bottle, gave me then later the opportunity to spend time with her and had actually a roof over my head.
Yeah. And the
Otherwise,
fact that you bought the weed as opposed to like somehow getting like a roof or like food or something also put you maybe like in a position to reach out to her again,
Right. That was fun.
Yeah,
That
so-
was a fucking fun evening.
So fucking quote unquote bad decisions that you could look at, they actually turned out to be really amazing times,
Right.
that you
Decisions,
didn't even
man.
consider before. So it's like that is what Rava was saying. Like you really cannot know how's it gonna turn out. I had a friend asking me if I was like excited to be back in the States, and she like alluded to the that I should do stuff here in China because I might not be back soon. And I was like, you know what, like, you don't know that, I don't know that. I didn't even know I was gonna come here before, like, 3 months before I came here, and then I've been here for a year. So really, if there's something I don't take for granted anymore, it's the randomness of life,
I
and
love it.
you
I fucking love it.
it's amazing. It's amazing. You
Right.
never know like what's gonna happen really, and what things you've learned you will use and will be like the most useful things. It's it's really so random, and even like if you read about people who are like, yeah, so determined, they went for one thing and they made it, but then you see their story and you like start seeing how all these random things came together, seemingly random things came together to make everything work for that person, and yeah, they were there and they were putting the time, of course, but also there's so many other factors that it's like magic.
Mm, me and Rafa, like, remember, like, when we left Kunyushan, we just, like, we're gonna follow the flow,
Yeah.
and then one thing after another. Like, I love your thing, because, like, you just went from place to place, right?
Yeah, and I was traveling with other people, and I was like, "Yo, you guys planned this shit," and they'd be like, "Hey, Rafa, do you want to like stay at this place or like go to this place and then go to this place?" And I was like, "Just you guys just pick. I'll just go wherever this takes us, you know." And through that planning, we like missed a flight, and we ended up at a completely different country than we were expecting, and that was like a really and oh shit, I feel like that adds up to this story. We lost a flight to Thailand, and that was like there was no way we were gonna make that flight. Like in retrospect, and we kind of knew it before. But anyway, we missed the flight, and so when we were like standing looking at the screen that says that our plane is leaving, we just happened to bump into a group of three other people who also lost their flight. Um, and they were heading over to Laos, and they were telling us how good Laos is as opposed to like going to Thailand. And so we were like pretty much like immediately like, oh yeah, fuck it, let's just whenever the airport opens again, because the airport was it's like midnight, so there was no one there pretty much. Which makes it even more surprising that we bumped into those people. Then we were like, yeah, whenever the airport kind of like opens up again, we'll just buy a ticket to Laos and just go to Laos. And on like the third day there, I'm walking around looking for some oregano oil, and I walked around for maybe like an hour and a half going through all the pharmacies that I could find. And on the way back to the hotel, I'm at the corner of the hotel. I just need to turn left, and I'll be at the hotel. And I'm gonna stay on this street because a few blocks ahead there's a coconut water place, like a natural coconut water place, and the coconut and everything. And I definitely wanted one of those. And in the next corner, I bumped into a dude that was studying martial art with us at Kunyushan, and he had left. He left like a month or something like that before we did, and we didn't even know where the hell he was. And he was just sitting there, the only one in the restaurant, outside. He wasn't even sitting inside the restaurant. He was sitting outside, right on the street, pretty much. And he was paying as I was walking by, so he was leaving. And I was like, "Yo, what the fuck are you doing here?" And and then
So
he had
weird.
come over from Thailand to get his visa extended, or like a new visa. So for the next like week, we were hanging out together because he was in a hotel close by to ours. And thanks to him, the group that I was with was also able to get their visa because they needed the visa. Because of the country they're from, they would have needed a visa to get into the country anyway, and they didn't know that. So had we not missed the flight, we would have essentially like kind of like probably gotten stuck at the airport, or something would have kind of like happened with them. So we just happened to bump into him, and then we just kind of kept hanging out for a while, and then he just went his way. Um, so yeah, and I barely knew the guy. I think I hung out with the guy I think twice, maybe at like in China, and then we just like bumped into each other. in fucking Laos, you know.
Have,
Um,
wasn't the story you didn't you go together to Thailand and like had some nice experience there?
yeah. So, you know, we shared the bus and all that. Um, Man, you know, speaking, I feel like kind of keeping that trend going. When we all like booked the bus to Thailand, in order to get to the bus, you need to take this little taxi, and in Laos they don't have like, or at least I didn't see actual taxis. It's more like a carriage. It's it's like a motorcycle kind of thing that is pulling like a carriage on the back. It's like it looks kind of like ghetto made, but that's kind of like the taxis that they have there. And so they have this one that goes around the block, essentially picks everyone from that block from all the hotels, and then takes them to a bus station, and then that bus station will get you to the border where you take the next bus. And there were these two girls that were in the that just happened to also be staying in one of the hotels around us. So they were in that same little taxi. I think they're called tuk tuk. Um, and those two girls not only happened to be on that same tuk tuk as us, they also took that same first bus. And then in the border, depending on what kind of like shuttle you got, you got into different buses, and they also had the same bus to Thailand to Bangkok as we did. Um, and so during the ride, you know, we were kind of like chatting and all that, and by the end of it, we kind of like gotten along, so we shared numbers and all that. One of the girls helped us get a taxi and not get like shafted by the prices, because since they know you're not from there, they kind of like have you like pay extra and all that. She helped arrange us a taxi when we got to Bangkok to get us to the place that we needed to go, and then she invited us to this this party, and it turned out that she and her friend were models, so they were sending us to this like essentially like, you know, what I guess what you can imagine as like a one of those crazy Bangkok parties. Um, and you know, we'd all just happen to be in the same bus, and I think more importantly, and this comes back to maybe like the topic of me not like initiating. Um, when we got on that first tuk tuk, there were like I felt like there were a few interesting people there, but you know, there's this girl who's like dressed kind of nicely and all that, but we were having trouble fitting everyone on the tuk tuk, and she sat on the like dirty floor and everything, and I was like, damn, that's so odd that out of everyone here, she's the one that, you know, had the initiative to do this. And you know, during the whole time, and I think something like even more particular during the party, she was making sure that everyone was like set, that everyone had like drink tickets and everyone had everything that they needed. And I was like, shit, this is just like me when I was working at the office and we would have an event. This is exactly what I'd be doing, you know. And I had this moment where I was like, damn, you know, this is like almost like, you know, there's a resonance here. This is almost like another version of me, you know, and thanks to her being here, you know, I don't have to do that kind of thing. That's kind of like the feeling that I got. Um, so I don't know, man. I feel like I don't even know how to explain it, but you know, there was definitely like a pull, and it all just so happened to work out that we took like all the buses together and then the same taxi, and then we left at our about the same time, and that we were also working on our visas in Laos and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Life is strange, man. The
Yeah.
universe, as you said, like the
Very
universe works in
strange.
strange ways, man.
Yeah.
Fucking strange ways, man. Man. By the way, like I wanted to tell you guys something. So remember, I told you 2 weeks ago I went and pulled my wisdom tooth. I don't know if I told you the story.
No.
So I went to Muping and pulled my wisdom tooth, and you know it's like super cheap to do it here. I paid with medication and doing the thing. And it's like was so easy to do. $15. Like
Holy
$15.
shit, dude.
And I was like done in I walked into the hospital to the dentist place, man, and then going upstairs, you know, doing with the app translation and showing the pictures of my USB stick, and just like, you know, we like how funny it is, man, in China, man. Everything over app. Like, yeah, like this and this, we're gonna do that. And sitting in the chair, doing all the stuff, and like I was finished in 20 or 30 minutes. The whole thing, going inside, finding the right person, discussing the whole thing, pulling it out, paying, and getting things explained, how to medicate myself, blah blah blah. It was done in like in maybe 30 minutes. Like it was so fast, like super great, and like the whole thing came out in one piece, like really ridiculous. Like it's a huge fucking ass tooth, and I actually buried it in. I buried it actually in Kunyushan. On Friday I went there first day last week to say my goodbyes to it, and I left a piece of myself there. So,
Literally.
like the wisdom tooth, because I gained so much wisdom in Kunyushan.
Someone's gonna be digging, and they're gonna find that it's gonna be like a new student who's just gotten there, and they're gonna be digging and find that tooth, and they're gonna be like, "Oh shit,
Somebody died here."
But what I want to say is like a randomness is right. That's actually not the point. But I want to say, like, after I pulled my wisdom tooth at the night, I was in such pain, right? And I was such in pain that I had to distract myself, and I usually don't do this in the night, going to the internet. And I went to the internet, and then I found the clip of Mind Valley, right, with the thing they're gonna go to Croatia, blah blah.
The thing you sent us.
And right, I told you the story of it was like 2 days. So it was like on the March 29th that I saw this, and 1st April was like the end day of applying for volunteer work there. And I thought like, oh, this is fucking amazing, this is like, a public speaking event. It's like, I want to get the industry to know that we're perfect to go there. And then I made like quickly a video, uploaded it, and applied for the application thing, and then I forgot about it. And then they wrote me actually a couple of days later back. And they're like, hey, cool, you made like the first round, let's have a Skype call. And today I'm gonna have my the how to call it, the job interview
interview.
Yeah. So that's gonna happen tonight.
Wow.
Damn,
That's
dude.
really cool.
So yeah, if you would have just fallen asleep, you would have just like flown over
Exactly,
that.
right, so
Who
like-
knows if you would have ever
totally.
like even found? Yeah. You
Because
know that.
2 days.
Yeah, exactly, and you were like right on the deadline too. Damn. That's kind of like how I found out about, because I feel like it's kind of like a similar thing, because the Mind Valley thing it's like a month-long event. That's kind of how I found out about WDS, the World Domination Summit, which is like a week-long. It kind of gave me similar vibes to the Mind Valley thing, and it was that I was working in Portland, and a friend of mine from Seattle told me about this like drawing event that was going on in Seattle, and essentially you just show up somewhere, and it's like mindful drawing or something like that. It was. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of funny. So I left work early that Thursday, and I flew over to Seattle, and I went to that event. And there wasn't that many people. It was like a table with maybe like 5 or 6 people, but the people running it, they just happened to like start talking to me about World Domination Summit, and they didn't really explain it. I feel like they had trouble explaining it in the same way that I have trouble explaining what the heck it is. But something about it, I was like, I'll put my email on the website and find out when I can get a ticket. And when the ticket like thing came up, I just bought it. I just had no plans. And then during that week, I had like a pretty like profound experience, and it was like, I feel like definitely thanks to that event that I actually like ended up in China. So
Yeah.
it was like by chance, one thing came up, and then that led to a whole nother thing that happened a year later, that then led me to China to like meet you guys essentially, or meet you, Darka.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. WDS
funny.
kind of set up this whole year for you, right? In some way, you could say that. Like all the traveling, all the Thailand and Laos, which actually for whatever reason, I was thinking about Macau, and you say Laos is totally different, but and now I'm going to the next WDS, and I also couldn't explain it to anybody that what it is that I'm going to, but it's just like, oh, my brother told me about it. He really liked it, set up his year to do a bunch of things, Okay, like sounds good to me. Sounds great. And I told you this. I'm not even expecting anything yet. Like I'm not
Yeah.
expecting to take anything crazy out of it. I don't have like a plan. Actually, when you fill out the ticket, they tell you like what do you want to do. I was like, well, I want to meet people. If anything, like I would just want to meet interesting people and connect. That's as far as my plan goes. But really, I can't even think about something specific that I'm gonna get out of there that is gonna like be like, oh, now I know what to do with my
Yeah.
life, and I like that.
And even though I like went last year, I'm on the same boat. I'm like, I don't even know what this year's gonna be like, because I feel like this year's gonna be so different, because I feel like in a sense we're gonna have like a little group of people that we kind of know, but then at the same time, I think it's gonna like also be like a completely new experience. So
What
so
time?
yeah, I
What time?
definitely
What time is
this
it?
this is happening starting on the 24th of June, I think. No,
Mind
28th of June or something like that.
Mind Valley is 22nd of June.
Yeah, yeah, dude. It's like happening around the same time. Oh, something about that. 22nd of June. Uh, it's my birthday, right? And I told you guys during the last WDS there was like the way WDS works is that it's like a week long, and then the last 3 days, I think the format is changing for this year, but the last 3 days are kind of like TED Talks, but then the whole week there's meetups going on, and there's like hundreds of meetups for all kinds of things, and you go to whatever the hell you want, or to none of it if you want. But essentially, you're walking through Portland, and there's a bunch of people with the badges. It's like you're part of this secret club that's walking around, that's taking over Portland for a week. And it's pretty nice. Like you meet pretty amazing people, but there was this girl again, that we just kept bumping into each other, and we just kept bumping into each other, and just the weirdest or the most random of ways, and um, after bumping into each other probably like 6 or 7 times, we were with like a group of people that we met there having dinner, and she went over to me and she was like, hey, did you also get like this initial pull where like when we first saw each other it was like, oh, like almost like we've met before, and then we just kept bumping into each other like everywhere we went. And I was like, yeah, what the fuck, you also got that. And it turned out, as we started talking, that it almost feels like I like to say that we're like, again, like the same person, because oftentimes we're dealing with the same kind of like issues in life at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, just under different circumstances.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm.
another thing to add to that is that we both also have the same birthday on June 22nd.
Oh wow.
So it's like, yeah, dude, it's
Yeah,
like
that
I
is weird.
one time maybe I'll get into like the whole story, but but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, just by chance, man. I feel like that was the thing that led me to China was kind of like the initiation into the event, and how like the event got going for me, and that was like already pretty amazing. And
Man,
then just meeting her, I think, has been like pretty like kind of like life changing, because I feel like
man,
I've
oh,
met
man.
like 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 a soulmate in like the maybe like the truest essence. That's like someone who's really like their lives are really like kind of like intertwined with yours or something like that. So yeah.
Fucking love it, man. I fucking love it, man. So when you go to, so you're gonna go this year again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and next year, and
And
that's the
next
last
year
one.
is the last one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, man. I think we're gonna have like, because if the, so I have the job interview today, right? But I think it's gonna work out. And
Oh, yeah.
then yeah, and then I think once June is over, we're gonna have like a fucking a lot of stories to tell, man.
Man, I was
Like,
thinking, what we should do is we should,
record
uh,
there.
yeah, dude,
Yes, I had the
we
same
have this
thought, man.
plan. This girl, she's a chef,
Yeah.
and I've been like, looking forward to her like making food for me for a while. So what we're
Yeah.
thinking is having her and like her friends over at the place that Edward and I are staying, and having her like cook food, and maybe it would be nice to like match it with your time. So hopefully
Yeah.
we can get like all of us in a table, and then you and whoever, like if you meet like cool people that would be interested in getting into that like random podcast with us, we could just get a bunch of people and just have a chat, and see where that goes.
Yeah. Okay. That would be interesting. The only thing is like when it's too many people in a podcast, then it gets like fucking confusing.
We can have them coming in and out of the show though. Like I've seen this in many podcasts, like special episode where they have 4 people and then 1 or 2 leave every now and then a new one comes, and it usually this happens when they are recording at like parties.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The other idea would be like, my thing would be like, okay, what, when we're there, you're just gonna hang out with people, and then I have a little mic, and I'm gonna take it with me, and it's gonna be like, hey, do you mind, let's talk, and I'm just record this, and then it's gonna be like maybe like a solo episode, like Darko and like this dude from Mind Valley, and then it's gonna be Rafa and his experience on blah blah, and then it's gonna be more like that, because like I think matching everything, I will be like fucking amazing, but I don't think it's gonna be practical.
Yeah,
that's gonna be the only problem. But we're gonna see how things work when it's like still soon, or it's like still 1.5 months away or 2 months.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see when we get there for sure.
The important thing is we're gonna have like fucking amazing stories to tell, man, and the connections we're gonna make, man, the people we're gonna meet, man, the stories we're gonna share, man. Like, yeah, I'm looking fucking forward to that experience, man. So like, yeah, I might stay there for the whole thing is 1 month, and if they want me to work before and afterwards, I might stay for like for 2 months in Croatia then, something like that, and just be like there the whole time. The who fucking knows, man. Life is strange. Universe looks strange.
Yeah,
right.
That's pretty amazing. That the thing that happened with your tooth that just led you to that event, and then you passed, just before the deadline, and then they were like, "Yo, yeah, you passed." That's
they're like, they wrote me an email. You Kung Fu Master, how cool! Because I said I did the master certification here, and like this is actually like actually benefiting me in like in a way that I didn't think it's gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's fucking strange, man. But like, yeah, I'm gonna keep you up to date with that. What's gonna happen tonight? I'm gonna tell you that. And life is strange, man. And I'm feeling like what you talked about, just following the flow. Just following the flow of life, and like not trying to plan too much ahead, and just like living more like on, in the moments, on a weekly basis, and just like saying yes to things, and just going with the feeling, right?
Yeah, and I definitely think like to some things if you feel like saying no, then say no, because I feel like the important thing is that you kind of like feel like good about the things that you're doing, or you feel like you're doing interesting things and all that, and that's kind of why I mentioned that you can't really make a wrong choice, that maybe you pick a path that's going to be different from another that seemed interesting, but you don't know where this one's going to lead either, and you truly don't know where the other one was going to lead, even though it seemed interesting.
True.
So just go with whatever feels like more interesting, or just go out on a whim if you need to, flip a coin, and then just look out for all the cool things that happen.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to add, like, like this, the small thing with the podcast is the best example, because we started this like a month ago, or like 5 weeks now ago, and 6-7 weeks ago I told you a story. The guy on Instagram contacted me like, hey, do you want to make like a podcast together? And the idea was intriguing, but and I like his stuff, but I didn't like the concept how he wanted to do with subscription and all this stuff. I just didn't like that. And then it felt wrong, but I wanted to do it, but it felt wrong. And then after a week I said like, hey, sorry, you know what, I changed my mind, I'm not gonna do it. And then I had the feeling like, shit, maybe I lost an opportunity here. And then like, you know what, fuck it just didn't feel right. And then a week later, it was really like a week later when I talked with you, hey, let's chat together. And then like, again a week later, then we all of us three started the podcast thing.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's saying initially no, but it just didn't feel right. And then like, come with you guys together, this feels right. So like, you have to really listen to the feelings.
Yeah. Also, I like to say, like, saying no to one thing, saying yes to another, right? So there's even in that very simple level of saying yes or saying no, like we're still just saying yes to something, and we're still just saying no to another thing. Because it's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, after this whole talk, I'm just like a lot more relaxed, and I kind of needed that. Like it's just trust that everything's gonna be alright, and alright means alright. It's don't mean good, don't mean bad. It's just like everything is what it is, and
Exactly.
yeah, it's cool.
What I want to say is like what I love about talking with you guys is because all of us have like their individual lives and we're doing things, but also seeing like how you follow your lives, and it's like also kind of random, like and you're just following the flow, but it's alright, and like exchanging the stories with you feels me like like I'm doing the right thing, because we just like all of us like talking about the flow, and it's like just going, and you know what I mean. It's like talking with you guys feels like more encouraging of doing following the feeling.
Yeah. And when we sit down like this and we're like, oh, all these things lined up for this thing to happen, it's like, oh, we're in the right spot, It's
I
like,
fucking love it, man.
Yeah.
Guys, I love you guys. Like, it's like super amazing. Like once a week, I'm really looking forward every week to like chat with you guys for an hour. It's like, it's really amazing. It's just like, it feels right. It's super fun connecting with you, and this whole thing doesn't feel like work. I just like chatting and like no planning, no scripts, no nothing. It's just really sitting down for a fucking hour, exchanging stories, and which again like help each other. It's like very therapeutical at the same time, like just going through some stuff. And also, as you said last time, sometimes we form sentences. Like I point things out that you didn't see, you point things out that I didn't see, Edward points things out that like both of us didn't see, and so we're like exchanging each other like ideas between three of us. It's interesting because it's not only two people, but we like a ping pong game. Like with three people, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, I think Holy Trinity right there, right? That they were know what they were writing back at the Bible. Two is a purpose. Three is a party. Woo!
Yeah. Like okay, yeah, guys. I guess again, it's a good time to stop, right?
I think we've done it.
Yeah.
Smash
that subscribe button. Tell your grandma. Buy your grandma a computer if she doesn't have one, and get her on this.
Also, subscribe to our therapy service where you can call in and we'll just talk over you and you will feel better, hopefully.
Yeah, Darko will also like drive over to your place and leave a massage table there if you need.
No massage, just the table, right?
Subscribe, tell your friends and family about this, and like join in, leave a comment, rate this on iTunes. I like it's not even on iTunes, but like I just want to say that. Okay guys, love you and see you next week again.
Alright guys, take care.
Bye bye.